Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to be doing a story time. I don't know if I've ever done like a legit, I don't know if I've done a story time. Maybe I have, I don't know. I'm going to be doing like a story time on everything that happened because if you guys are following us, I cannot talk today. If you guys are following us over on our Instagram page, you saw that we were at the emergency room with Weston, and I wanted to just give you guys an update on everything that happened. Before we get into that story time, I have footage from Halloween that I'm just going to insert into this video because everything pretty much starts for Weston right after like Halloween, literally right when we get home from trick-or-treating. So I'm going to insert the Halloween footage now. Got back from trick-or-treating, and we noticed during trick-or-treating Weston started getting a little bit more crabby, irritable, just whiny, and we figured, you know, he's tired. We didn't bring a stroller, and so we just figured he was tired. You know, the kids are opening up their Halloween candy, and Weston's just kind of sitting there. He wants to participate. He's like eating a sucker and whatnot, but then he just kind of looks at us and goes, hot. And he went and laid down on the couch, and we were just like, okay, he's tired, he's done for the night. We didn't think he had a fever or anything. So then we go on throughout the night, we like look at all the Halloween candy, we're hanging out with Maya and Noah, and we're getting the older two ready for bed. By the way, Charlie did not go trick-or-treating. It was too cold, so Charlie just stayed back with my parents. Anyways, we're getting the older kids ready for bed, and I went to go grab Weston. Is my camera like going in and out of focus? I went to go grab Weston, and I noticed he's very, very hot and very tired, very sleepy, and just like his whole body is red. At this point, he had his like shirt off, taken his shirt off. So he was really red. So I went and got my thermometer, and it was, oh my gosh, I think it was like 103. Gave him Tylenol. And we put him in bed with us because I wanted to monitor his fever. And when I give my kids Tylenol, I like to monitor it. And so I like to take their temperature every half hour to make sure their fever is going down. Weston's fever got up to 104. It was not going down. So we got like a cool rag, and put that on him for another half hour. And then checked his temperature again. And it was still 103.9 or 8. Like, it didn't really go down at all. Then Gage went upstairs and got like a little bowl of ice cream. Then put that washcloth in the freezer for like a couple minutes. So then we put that on Weston. And by the way, that ice cold washcloth did not affect him. Like, we put it right on his forehead and like his back area. Like, he didn't move. He was just out. He didn't want to eat any ice cream. He is very lethargic. So then we let that sit for another half hour, and his fever was slowly coming down. At this point, it was 102.9. So we're like, okay, at least it's coming down. We are going to go to bed. Literally 4 hours later, Weston woke up, and his fever was back up to 103, 104. I can't really remember. I want to say like in the middle. So it was back up to that point. He was very crabby. Gave him more Tylenol, and he didn't fall asleep right away. It was a long night with him, but eventually he did end up falling asleep. The next morning, I was prepared for, you know, Weston to wake up with a fever. I mean, he was fighting a fever all night long. He woke up perfectly fine. Like, no fever, all of his energy back, perfect. Oh, well, maybe it was just some weird, I don't know, just some weird bug. Day goes on, and Weston goes down for a nap. When he went down for a nap, he was perfectly fine. And when he woke up from his nap, Gage and I were actually supposed to go to a dinner with his work. We were getting ready to go, and Weston was asleep downstairs on the couch, and so we woke him up, and so we went inside, woke him up to bring him upstairs to hang out with my parents while we went to this dinner, and we noticed he was burning, you guys. And when I say burning to the touch, literally his skin was radiating heat. He was red from top to bottom. Like, just touching him, like, burned my fingertips. And I looked at Gage and I said, grab the thermometer. I already know this is way higher than, like, 103, 104. Like, I'm not joking. You touched him, it burned your finger. At first, the thermometer wasn't working. And so then Gage finally got it to work. My nose is really itchy. Gage finally got it to work, and his temperature was 106.4. At that point, I just looked at Gage and I said, we gotta go to the hospital. That moment, I've never had a child with a fever that high. In that moment, I looked at Gage and I said, what do we do? Do we call 911? Do we rush him into the emergency room? What do we do? Of course, I didn't mean to freak out with Maya and Noah there, but then Maya goes, I'll call 911. Should I use the Google Home? What should I do? And I said, no, just calm down. So we gave him Tylenol. He's vomiting it all up, just all over the couch. I'm like, gosh darn it. Like, we need to get the Tylenol in him. He's hot, he's warm. Has a fever 106. We need to get going. Gage had to call his grandma because on Wednesday, the tire popped in the van and we could not get the tire off, so we actually had to tow it to Tires Plus. So anyways, we didn't have a vehicle. So Gage is getting a hold of his grandma and was like, hey, Weston has a fever of 106.4. Can we use your vehicle? Gage's grandma lives literally right next door to my parents, and so he ran over there quick, grabbed her car, threw Weston into his car seat, went off to the hospital. And on our way there, I asked Gage, I said, should we just go to Children's downtown? And at that point, he's like, no, let's just go to the one closest to us. Let's just get him to the doctor. So we get there, like I said, the waiting room is just packed, you guys. Packed. We didn't even have a seat to sit down at first. So where you check in, it is for the emergency room and the urgent care. Then a nurse comes out, looks at you, looks at your symptoms, and then we'll determine if it's an emergency situation or an urgent care situation, and then they send you, like, your ways. Get up to the receptionist, and I'm checking him in, and I said, he is very lethargic. At this point, Weston couldn't even keep his eyes open. I almost started tearing up in the car because just looking at Weston, his eyes were rolling back. He couldn't keep them open. And I know his body was hot, he has a fever, like, I know that's, like, common, but it was just scary to see. I tell the lady, I said, he's lethargic, and his fever is up to 106.4. We need to be seen. She's like, you know, oh, blah, 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 like, taking my information, whatever. Gage and I both knew she didn't really care. I asked her, I said, how long is it till we see a nurse? Like, he needs to be seen. And she comes around the desk, out to the main lobby area, puts, like, the wristband on Weston, like the hospital band on Weston, and then taps me on the shoulder. Like, it's okay, he'll be fine, it's just a high fever. I didn't say anything to her. I walked away. We had to stand for a couple minutes until someone else got called back. We waited for 2 hours. 2 hours with a child that has 106.4 fever. 2 hours before our name got called. There was an elderly lady sitting across from us who was there because her grandson getting his, like, foot checked out or something. I think he, like, twisted it or sprained it. And so she was waiting for him, and she was out in the waiting room sitting right across from us, and she just kept shaking her head at the amount of people that were going ahead of Weston. Everybody there could see Weston. He was limp, he was lethargic, he was burning up. Every so often he'd wake up and cry in pain and then knock back out. I feel like that lady thought we were just overreactive parents and he just has some tiny little fever and he needs to be checked out. Like, lady, like, that's not the case. This kid has a high fever. And I understand first come, first serve basis, but when you're in an emergency room, sicker patients have to go first. Have to. Just like if you walk into an emergency room and you say you have chest pain, they will take those patients first. I was a 2-year-old with 106.4 fever, lethargic, not on the top. There were people there, and it frustrates me because I feel like some people abuse the emergency room, and you guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I feel like some people abuse the emergency room and take away from the patients that actually need the care. It just frustrated me. Out of everybody in that waiting room, Weston was by far the sickest patient in that waiting room. And it frustrated me, and it frustrated the grandma that was sitting across from me. She was even telling me that this is ridiculous. He needs to go first. But no, we waited 2 hours, and I kept telling Gage, I said we should have just went down to children's. Finally, we get called back. They take his temperature. They immediately give him some, oh my gosh, ibuprofen or Motrin, and we let them know that we did give him Tylenol, but he threw it up. So then she had to go ask the doctor in the back in the emergency room if they should give him Tylenol because he threw it up, or if they should wait because it can still get in your system. And so they had to wait, but they did give him Motrin, ibuprofen right away. And then she was asking me just like a bunch of questions, like, yeah, I don't know why he's sick. I mean, he was just fine all day. He just randomly spiked this fever. The fever is like why we're here. That's why we're concerned. And she's like, okay, is there anything else, like a runny nose or like whatever? And I said, well, he's been coughing, but we've all been sick with a cough, but he's been coughing. After the nurse checks us out, they still don't think it's a priority for Weston to go back and be seen. We then go back out to the waiting room and wait for another half hour. At this point, I'm just very frustrated because I feel like nobody cared. This 2-year-old had 106.4 fever. Like it was just some normal thing. It was normal for him to just be laying there limp and lethargic and doesn't want to move. So we go back out into the waiting room for another half hour, and that grandma's still out there and she's waiting, and she's upset too because there's no reason why we shouldn't have went back. While we're waiting in the waiting room, there was some interesting people there. There was a kid that was so obsessed with his phone, waiting to be seen by the emergency department, so obsessed with his phone that he had his girlfriend or someone and her friend bring him a phone charger into the waiting room, and then walked over and was so concerned about finding a charger, he sat in the corner. I'm like, dude, you're obviously not that sick to be at an emergency room. And then there was another lady that I don't know why she was there, but she had a full-on conversation with her spouse, her husband, her boyfriend on the phone, literally yelling at him in the waiting room, saying, you don't care about me. She's just bitching loud, you guys. I'm not even joking, loud. She said, I have texts. Should I read those texts out loud in front of everybody? In my head, I'm like, yeah, read them. We all kind of want to hear it. We already know your whole conversation and life story. You might as well read the text messages so we can get the rest of the story. Another lady that came in told the receptionist what was going on with her, and miraculously when she went and sat down, she didn't have those symptoms anymore. But you wanna know what's funny? She got called back before Weston did, and he checked in before she did. Point of the story, this whole waiting room story, next time my kids have a high fever like that, I'm bringing them straight down to Children's in Minneapolis. So we finally get called back to the emergency room. As we're walking back, the lady goes, oh, hold on, I have to make sure that there's even a room for you guys. So she calls the people in the emergency room. She's like,
yeah, I have a patient. He's 2 and he has a cough. He needs to be seen.
When I say I could have. He's not there for a cough. He is there for a very high fever. And the fact that she said, oh, he's just here for a cough, pissed me off. Then they're like, oh yeah, here, we can put him in this room. You guys, I cannot make this up. They put us in, with a child, they put us in the psych room. Walking in there, I looked at Gage. I'm like, holy shit. And you could tell the lady and the nurse was kind of like, And there's nothing in this room. Nothing but a bed. That's it. Nothing else. Because it's a psych room. They can't have anything else in there. I'm surprised there was even a bed in there. It was cold. Very echoey. It was small. By the way, I'm not saying I'm very upset about the whole like situation, but this is a very nice hospital. Usually in the emergency department and in the urgent cares, you have your own private room. You have your own private room that's like comfy and cozy, and there's like, just like, it doesn't feel like a cold hospital room. It's like a private room just for you, and you're not sharing with anybody. And so the fact that we got put in the psych room was a little sketchy. There was like banging marks, like dents in the top of the door. The TV was behind glass. Everything was on the wall, so if you needed something, like everything was on the wall. Usually like there's a remote that you can like contact people or whatever. It was just sketchy as hell. The doctor comes in, listens to Weston, and goes, well, for being sick and a high fever, he sounds great. He orders x-ray to check Weston's like lungs and stuff like that. I will say once we got back to a room, everything was pretty quick. The fever finally went down to 104 with the Motrin, so that's good. They got him back into the x-ray, which was hard because he's so little, and so I had to wear the thing over me and hold him. Is Charlie awake? Okay, go say hi to Charlie. Charlie's waking up, so I gotta make this quick. Anyways, I had to hold him in the x-ray room, and anyways, we waited there, and turns out Weston has pneumonia. I think it was in his left lobe, right lobe, I don't know. He has pneumonia, and he has a viral chest infection. So that is what happened with Weston. That, if you are following us over on our Instagram, that is why we were there. They did let us go because his fever did go down. His oxygen was great. His heart rate was great. Everything was great. So they did let us go. He is on amoxicillin, and he has been better since. Like literally the next day, Saturday, he was fine, 100% fine. So it's really weird that he was having all these weird symptoms. Anyways, so I have to end this vlog because Charlie's now awake. He's crabby and he's hungry, so I gotta go make him a bottle. So that is our emergency room story time. If you guys stayed till this part of the video, thank you so much for watching. Go follow us over on our Instagram page, and we'll talk to you in our next video. Bye guys.
Set out on a road that I built with my own two hands. I met friends on the way, people chosen to make a stand. I felt strong in the sun as I walked onto path.